Hey, what's up, everybody? Listen, got exciting news to celebrate with you is that my TEDx talk, my first one, Overcome Rejection, just hit 2 million views. So go ahead, type congrats in the chat if you're watching this right now. Just go ahead, share some love. Let me know that you're excited, you're celebrating with me. If you're tuning in from another part of the world, just go ahead and let me know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you're watching this replay, hashtag replay in the chat. Let me know that you're watching this replay. I'd love to engage with you, be able to talk with you and interact with you in the comments if you're watching this replay. I wanted to come on here today to talk about what it actually took to create a talk that has 2 million plus organic views. No paid advertising, no big fancy PR firms. Not that I have anything against those, but just want to speak to the amount of favor that's on the talk and the amount of relevancy and the amount of connection that the talk is having with people to be able to get it to a point where it can organically have 2 million views in 2 years. That's a million views per year. And imagine what your life would look like, what your business would look like, what your dynamics of your situation. If you're working a 9 to 5, it doesn't matter where you're at in your life. Just imagine what your life could look like if you were to produce a talk that could have 2 million views or could have a million views per year. What would that exposure do for you? And what would that exposure do for the world? How much good could people experience? How much breakthrough could people experience? So, I want to share with you three components that I feel went into uh, crafting a message that has seen 2 million plus views at this point. Again, if you're just now tuning in, my TEDx talk, Overcoming Rejection, hit 2 million views. I want to welcome you. Let me know if you are celebrating with me. Would love to celebrate with you. So, the number one component of a 2 million view TEDx talk is having the right message. Okay. Having the right message. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things that goes into creating the right message, but I want to give you some things to think about. First thing is this: is that I had this opportunity to talk about something that I felt like I was an expert in. I remember when I was coming up with the idea for my TEDx talk, there was a lot of different ideas on the table, and one of the things that I wanted to do it on was on athletic transition. Okay. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I had this book. Well, wrong shoulder. This book, Who Am I After Sports, coming out at the time. And I wanted to be able to put an idea out there that would allow people to open up a conversation where they would want to see my book as the next step. And I had a lot of other objectives as well, but that was one of them. Is that I felt like I was becoming a thought leader in the athletic transition space. I felt my material was really good, and I wanted to share an idea we're spreading on the TEDx stage around athletic transition. And I had a really solid idea, and through working with a coach who was helping me shape my talk and my idea, we were able to go back and forth and came up with the concept of rejection. Okay. And one of the number one ways, like the question that we got from that was this: it was, I asked myself the question, what has life made me a master of? Not just what am I an expert at, but what has life made me a master of? You see, there is our learned experience, the things that we've learned along the way, and there is our lived experience, the things that we've been learning since the day that we were born. And the combination of that to find the through line, to find a powerful narrative within that, the seed of an idea is one of the things that has contributed to this being a 2 million view talk. I had to ask myself the question of what has life made me a master at? And when I started to look at this concept of rejection, I could see that even the athlete transition thing that I felt I was an expert at was a form of rejection, that sports had rejected me in my response to that. But I started to see a pattern throughout my life that there's these other periods of my life where I've faced rejection. So, a powerful thing to ask yourself if you are endeavoring to make an impact with your message, you desire to do a talk that's impactful, that resonates, that causes people to pass it along, is to ask yourself the question, what has life made you a master of? Okay. The other thing that I did in terms of creating the message, okay, and this is going to rub into my second point. but it's important one to mention here is when we think about crafting a message, a lot of times we start with our head instead of our heart. Okay, it's a very simple shift, but it's a powerful one. So anytime a person is going out to create a message and they want to make an impact and want people to pass that on, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of times they're like, okay, what do I want to say? How do I want to say it? What did they say? Uh, I was thinking of a speech framework, but the who, what, when, where, and why, right? Like, what do you want to say? Who do you want to say it to? Why do you want to say it? All that stuff, and we try to like basically brainstorm what we're going to talk about, and it's all head and it's no heart. Okay, and I did this exercise with I don't know if it was a TEDx event or if it was National Speakers Association. I don't remember whoever it was. If you remember this training, then just go ahead and say it was us in the chat. But I was doing this training for a group to help people to understand the difference of and the importance of crafting this speech from the heart and not just the head. And I did this illustration and went something like this. Like, imagine if I were to say, "Hey, I want you to create a talk. Like, you have, 20 minutes on stage. You'll be able to deliver a message, say whatever you want in the way that resonates with you. Say something that's impactful. Okay, what do you want to say?" And you get out your whiteboard and you start writing out all your ideas or writing out your speech, figuring out your outline, like all in your head, right? What you would come up with is far different than what you would come up with if I said something like this. Hey, I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to close your eyes and continue to breathe slowly in your nose and out your mouth. And I want you to think about your audience. I want you to see their faces. I want you to think about what they're going to walk in carrying. I want you to think about their family situation, what they could be going through. I want you to think about why they're there. What doubts, what fears, what concerns, what excitement do they have? I want you to imagine yourself walking up to the stage, looking them in their eyes. And I want to ask you a question from this state of beingness. What do you have to say to them? I guarantee you that if you did that, your answer would be much different than the first way. Okay. And there's a several different processes and exercises that you can do to really open up the heart, wisdom a little bit more to be able to access different uh, parts of your emotions, different uh, depths to the words that you have to say. But that is what goes into creating a great message. And of course, there's speaking skill and practices and rewrites and drafts and different perspectives and ton of stuff. And by the way, this is what I help my clients with is helping them to turn their message into movement through public speaking, through speaking on stages in the right audience. So it's not TEDx specifically, but it's broader than that. Okay, it's broader than that. It's way beyond that, and I say that in full honor and value of the stage. Um, and so there's a ton of practices and things that you can do, but I wanted to give you something that can be helpful, intriguing, and to help you to start to develop the right message. Because I don't just believe it's I'm using the TEDx headline to capture attention and talk about it, but I want you to know that wherever you are, no matter how big or small your platform is, that having the right message and number two, delivering it in the right way is so important. So let's talk about delivery really quick. So I talked about developing the right message, gave you some things to think about, some questions to ask. When we look at having the right delivery, everyone say practice, practice, practice. Okay. But here's the thing, it's not just about practice time, it's about how you're practicing. Okay. One of the things that I was so privileged to have is a person to work with me as I practice who can help me to really bring out more of my natural personality, my speaking skill, my emotions, my mannerisms, like more of who I am, because I had a person to work with me like that. None of you probably know her. If you're from my local community, you do. She's a short little lady named Myrna, and man, I can't even, there's a whole backstory about how I got connected with her. But we would do these practice sessions at my church where she would come over and have my speech and help me to kind of just tell stories differently, do things differently, challenge me in different areas. And it changed how I was practicing. Before, because TEDx Talks are manuscripted out, I was just trying to memorize it and give my best delivery from memory. And it wasn't really coming off natural. It wasn't allowing me to express myself like I wanted to express myself. And she really, really helped me. Really, really helped me. I can't even, like, that's an understatement. She saved my tail, is what she did. And so how we practice is so important to the results that we see from our practice. Okay. How we practice is so important to the results we see from our practice. And so you want to look into, am I delivering the right way? The other thing is you want to think about what natural communication skills, style, personality traits can you have that you can enhance in your talk. A lot of times when people think about speaking in front of people, one of the reasons why they get so afraid is because they think they have to be someone they're not. But people will always respect a speaker who is real, not one who is always perfect. Okay. And authenticity is valuable, vulnerability is valuable. And so, question you want to ask yourself is, what like personality traits, what I don't want to use the word mannerism, what personality traits, what unique communication style might you have that you can exploit more of to deliver your message in the right way? All right. So one of the things for me was obviously vulnerability was something that I am good at. I had the opportunity to be better at. And so when I was thinking about, okay, how do I deliver this message in the right way? How do I bring myself into a space of vulnerability, even though like I have this manuscript and I know already what I'm going to say, and I've practiced this so many times that stories that are very very emotional are not coming off emotional because I already like have processed it and healed from it and already know what I'm going to say. So it's not like I'm surprising myself with like this story that I never shared on stage. And there was a way to practice to be able to allow that to come through more so that people can truly see the vulnerability that is more closely related to who I am. And if you really, really know me, you see that the TEDx talk was a sample of the amount of vulnerable space that I hold for myself and other people. And so for you, it might be different. For you, it might be your humor. For you, I see Tamara, my homegirl, future TEDx speaker. What's up, homie? Tamara, one of the things Tamara's really good at is using her body in her speaking. I had the opportunity to hear her in person several times, and she's always doing something with her body. And so I would encourage her to do more with her body, like sit down on stage, do a freaking backflip, like use the things that are so natural to your personality to bring more of who you are to your talk. That is the second component to creating a talk that has 2 million views. Okay. So we're talking about the right message with the right delivery. And then the third component is the right support. Okay. And this is where I just go ahead and take it off of me and I turn it on to you. And I say, thank you. Ah, the way that y'all have showed up and supported this talk um, is unmatched. Unmatched. You didn't have to watch, you didn't have to like, you didn't have to comment, you didn't have to share, but you did. And that initial and continual support and push from you, the audience, is what has created such a ripple effect in the earth. Every person who commented, whether it was a paragraph or a sentence, every person who watched the full duration of the video, whether it was because I asked you to or because you were truly that inspired, you made a difference. And I'm telling you, it would not be where it is today without you. It's just impossible. I am not strong enough. I am not powerful enough. I am not even gifted enough to do a talk that has 2 million views. I can be the most amazing speaker, but without the right support, I'd be the greatest thing that no one ever heard about. So thank you so much for getting a message about overcoming rejection, which is something that we all have faced. We've all had people who haven't included us. We've all had people who didn't believe in us. We've all had circumstances in life that felt like they were a slap in the face. And to be able to get a message out there that's full of hope and strategy and perspective that can empower other people happen because of the right support. Now, I feel like I'm gonna write not feel like, I know that I'm going to write a book one day, if not multiple, on relationships because it's one of my greatest strengths. So I do understand that while people are generous and nice, and God has given me favor, that there are things that you can do specifically to involve your community. One of the easiest tips I'll give you, and then I gotta go here, is make it easy for people to share your message. If you have the right message delivered in the right way with the right support, but it's not easy for people to support you, then they won't support you. Okay. If you confuse, you lose. If you make it hard, they will not do it. Okay. So you want to ask yourself the question is, how can I make this easy for people? Whether that's through making sure that they have the links, making sure that it doesn't take 3 interactions with you just to see what you actually want, but you actually lead with the ask because you know you're worthy to give and receive, to give and receive. Being who you say you're going to be, walking with integrity. Like there's so many things that go into being able to have a community that supports you and will help spread your message and help shed your light. So before I get into overwhelm about the things that I would share, I just really want to say make it easy for people. Put the links there. Look at the messages that you're sending when you make your ask. Make sure it's clear what you're asking for. Make sure people don't have to read 91 paragraphs to get to it. And remember that people are not following you as closely as you think. You know, a 2 million view talk, you know, the people who are tuning in on this live stream, like people are not following me as close as I think. If I did a live stream today and did the same exact live stream with the same 3 points that I'm sharing with you today, and I did it tomorrow, like there'd be people who'd be like, "Oh, I didn't even know you're talking at 2 million views," and I wouldn't be like, "Yo, what do you mean? It's 2 million views. I talked about it in my thing. I celebrated. I did a whole live stream about it." Is that hey, they're busy. You know, the algorithm probably didn't show on my live stream. And so recognize that a lot of times I think that, I've talked to some other TEDx speakers who've done talks and they're like, oh, well, I didn't really get those shares. I didn't really get the support. And I was like, well, um, did people watch it? Well, yeah, yeah. I posted it on my social twice. And it's like they didn't even don't even know. Like they just think that like everyone just like saw it and was like, oh no, they don't want. So they take it so personal and they're like, people don't want to share my stuff. They don't believe in me. It wasn't that great. And it's like, yo, you didn't even really get it out there enough. Until you're tired of talking about the thing, then you haven't talked about it enough, right? Like you got to talk about it. You got to make it easy for people to support you. They shouldn't have to go 3 posts later just to see that you like for them to watch your talk and share. Put it on your website. Put it as a link in your social profile. Connect it to your photo and make sure that you can see it in your profile. Put it in your profile picture, right? Like get excited and make it easy for people. Okay. There's another piece of this that I'll just throw as a bonus. Recommended reading. There's a book called Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. Made to Stick. I think it's by them. I think it's by them. They might not be the authors. I think they are. Uh, but I highly recommend the book because it talks about how to make your message portable and memorable. And there's like a third thing. But that really plays into making it easy for your community to support you. When you have a message that is portable, it's got tweetable statements. It's got I like to call them impact statements. It's got the science of behavior woven into your talk. It's got layers of stuff. That's a good book. That's a good book to read and see how you can incorporate those principles into your talk because it makes it easier for people to share. So, again, if this is something that you need help with, support around, someone in your corner to help practice and write out your drafts and create your speeches, and I'm happy to support you or to connect you with people who I know can support you. I believe that everyone has a message worth sharing. I believe that the losses that you had in life aren't losses as long as they have become lessons. And when those lessons get passed on to other people, that is truly how you get purpose out of your pain. A lot of people say, man, God always has purpose in your pain. And, there's all these tweets about like, that pain is the path to purpose. And your misery will be your ministry is another one. Your mess will be your message. Your test will be your testimony. Like they just go on and on and on. And a lot of times those can be frustrating with people who are just like sitting on their hands waiting for their test to become their testimony or waiting for their mess to become their message, when in reality, one of the ways that you allow your mess to become your message is you actually share your message and get the reciprocity from sharing that. It's like if all you did was go through pain and betrayal and hurt and loss, and you never share the wisdom that has come out of that, the growth that has happened from that with other people and experiencing them saying, thank you. This is exactly what I need to hear. Thank you. I never saw it like this. Thank you. I thought I was the only one who went through this or who felt that way. Like if you don't get that echo back to you, then it's just pain. It's just mess. It's just test. There's no testimony, there's no message, there's no mission, there's no purpose because you haven't actually used the wisdom from the pain. And so I believe everyone has a message to share. And so if you've been on the fence about sharing your message, I'm telling you, this is your sign. This is your clue. Now is your moment. Step up, shoot your shot, share your message because I'm telling you, you never know. You might be the next 2 million view speaker, period. And let me just say this, it's not about 2 million views. We know that. We know that. But just for the religious people who are going to watch and say comments, I still care about people's opinions. I just want to say it's not all about that. We know it's about the impact. Look at the comments. I don't know how many comments there are, thousands of comments. Thousands. I'm talking about thorough comments. And whatever someone comments is probably more than what they even commented because they just gave you the cliff notes. Think about the depth of what's going on in their life. Do it and use Zero Sense and help you cultivate. I love Tamara. Let's just bring Tamara with me. She's a cheerleader everywhere we go. Appreciate it. Can't wait for the Grow for God conference, by the way. Make sure you get your tickets. Grow for God. Drop the link in the chat, homie. We will be there signing the anthology that is a bestseller and continues to sell and continues to impact Christian entrepreneurs around the world and all entrepreneurs really who are looking for more joy in their entrepreneur walk. So if you want joy, 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 joy down in my heart, where? Down in my heart. Where? Sorry. Okay. If you want joy, go grab that anthology. The homie will drop the link in the chat on Facebook, growforgod.com. Bam. Go get it. Go get it. The Joyful Entrepreneur Anthology. Jeez, it's a mouthful. I need like an acronym or something. All right, love y'all. Take care. Peace.